Good afternoon and welcome into the EKU Tailgate Show live here inside not a jam-packed Colonel Courtyard this Saturday morning, as I'm joined by Howard Miller again on a Saturday here in Richmond as the Colonels at home for the third straight week. We're going to recap the game from last week, Howard. We'll talk a little bit about the big day that is today, Hall of Fame Day. You were over at the ceremony this morning, a lot of big-time Colonels going into the Hall of Fame, and then big game on tap again for today. Yeah,
it's been an interesting morning. The Hall of Fame program, a couple of basketball players, outstanding track players, the latest volleyball team from 1973. That team and their coach was inducted, and so it was a wonderful program.
Now, Greg Stoudemire went into the Hall of Fame today, too, right?
Yes,
and I didn't
did.
know this about Greg, but apparently he's also an Uber driver now.
Well, Greg's a whole lot of things.
He is.
And when we go off air, we'll discuss some of them.
But, yeah, we'll talk about the Hall of Fame class later on. But talked about, this busy morning. It's been kind of a rough week for Colonel fans and a lot of fans here in Kentucky in general with the weather that we've gotten over the last 3 or 4 days. We had to cancel the Thursday night over at Dillingham Park, the late night with the Colonels because of the impending weather that came in. High school football games were shifted around all over the state.
Yes.
But today, though, things are going as planned as of right now. And at the moment, there's no rain coming down. Now, that's supposed to change. We had some rain earlier this morning. It's going to come back in, I believe. But at the moment, no rain coming down. And rain was an issue for the team last week as well. EKU played Morehead State for their second straight game at home, and it was a second straight victory at home for the Colonels. They knocked off Morehead State 42-13. Defense was incredible last week. Got interceptions from Vito Tisdale and Mike Smith Jr., two bad boys right there. That's Vito Tisdale and Mike Smith Jr. Got a couple of sacks from linebacker Gabe Stevens, and then Gabe Fletcher got a fumble recovery in the game. So the defense played really well. Morehead State was up to the task early. They took a 3-0 lead early on in the ball game. A few moments after Morehead took that lead was when the lightning delay occurred. Over a 90-minute lightning delay. It was kind of a question of, will we have fans coming back in? And I was very impressed with how many people came back in to watch the game. I was out here walking around here in the courtyard. I saw people going to their vehicles, and I'm like, well, that's not a good sign. But they all came back. They went and stood in their car, maybe kept dry that way. But a lot of the portion of the audience came back to support the Colonels, and it would go on to win 42-13 last week.
Sometimes when you have delays like that, it can go either way.
Yeah.
It can be a good thing, or it can be a period where the team, where we was behind 3 points, we have a chance to go in and ask ourselves, what in the world is going on? It gives you a chance to gather yourself, and as it turned out, it was a great moment for the team to really come together and somewhat look at themselves, where we were, get together, make some decisions about how we're going back out here and put this thing where it should be.
Yeah, because the reason Morehead State scored first, EKU got the ball first, fumbled it.
Yes.
And then Morehead recovered, turned that into a 33 or a 31-yard field goal. And again, the game delayed for over 90 minutes. Colonels came right back out, went 81 yards on 10 plays to take a 7-3 lead, and it was Daquan Stanley who caught 2 touchdowns in the game, caught his first touchdown to give EKU that advantage. They added 3 touchdowns in the second half, all of them coming on the ground, including the first career scores for Latham and McAllister. Morehead State managed another field goal in the second half, but EKU's defense secured its third turnover when Smith intercepted an errant pass in the fourth quarter that set up McAllister's touchdown to help kind of put an exclamation point and a stamp on a big victory over another in-state rival last week.
Well, anytime you can beat Morehead in anything, it's a great victory.
Oh, yeah.
But it was a wonderful outing as far as the team having a chance to really gather itself, get together, go out and really perform in a relaxed manner, coming off of the Mississippi State, Western Kentucky game, and then having the opportunity to not relax and go against a Morehead, because you never let your opponent determine the intensity by which you play, but to have a situation where you're not up against D1 talent, more or less, and they had a chance to really get themselves together and do it.
He had 463 yards of total offense last week, 301 on the ground, which was big. When I talked to Coach Wells, too, I asked him a couple of questions during the press conference on Tuesday. One question was, how did you guys – were you prepared? Because that morning, I had looked at the weather, the radar. I didn't see any storms coming in or any rain coming in. Sure enough, it came in that evening, and I asked Coach Wells about that. He said that they were prepared. They do a lot of that stuff, and that's things that I think fans don't think about. You know, you don't really think about preparation for moments like that when you're going to have a lightning delay and you have to go to the locker room. Well, what do we do for 90 minutes while we're waiting on the lightning and the storm to kind of leave the area? Coach said they had all the players take their pads off because they had got a little bit sweaty, but they wanted them to kind of dry out a little bit. And then they all got a snack, Rice Krispie treat, maybe a payday, something, a little candy bar to kind of keep their energy up. And because you don't want to grab a hamburger, obviously, during that time. But you still want to have something to kind of keep you energized and ready to go for when the game does start back. So they had that all going on. And then a lot of times in college football and even at the NFL, maybe even at the high school level, you'll see teams kind of script their early plays, maybe the first drive or two. So I asked Coach about that. Like, did that change up your rhythm? Because – you know, or your scripted plays, because now you're coming out of a 90-minute break, but you're also down 3-0. And he said, well, once we hit a few of those, explosive plays like we did in that opening drive, when we came back out of the delay, that kind of opened up the whole offense, and we really took off from there.
Yeah. A lot of times in situations like that, you know, the old saying, you have to prepare for war during peacetime.
Yeah.
So situations like that often is when you do have the chance to regroup. And even though it was a short period of time into the first quarter, you have a chance to review what you've already saw, some of the things that's going on in front of you. Gives the guys a chance to, like you say, take off your pads, regroup, rethink it, and get recharged and go out there. But, you was talking about taking off your pads. Most people don't realize it, but
it's a task.
Well, in some situations, as soon as the players hit the dressing room at halftime, those shoulder pads is the first thing that comes off. You'll be surprised at 7 to 12 minutes of relaxed time without those pads on, what it can do for just getting yourself ready for the second half.
Yeah.
Because those shoulder pads and everything, man, they weigh quite a bit. I mean, it's not that it's that heavy, but it's the way that it constrains you so much.
Yeah.
And to be able to just take them off and relax for a little bit means a lot.
Well, it'd be like let's say you're holding a 15-pound weight. It doesn't sound like it's that much, but if you hold it for 3 hours, then it can kind of weigh on you a little bit.
It weighs a whole lot more than 15 pounds.
Exactly, yeah. So you can definitely kind of – now, I never put the pads on, but you sure did, and you know what it's like when you go into the locker room. Did you ever have any experience in a delay or a game where you guys had to walk off the field and come back out and play?
No, the biggest disappointment we had, Coach Barton and myself, Bobby Barton, we was talking about that last night at the volleyball game. We were supposed to play the first game in East Tennessee's dome.
Okay.
We were supposed to play the first game in that facility, and we were all hyped up, ready to go and play inside because at that time, none of us had never played an inside college football game, high school or college for that matter. And so we found out the day before going down there that the facility, the building, had a leak in the roof.
Wow.
Equivalent to a quart jar of water a day. The state of Tennessee would not accept the building until the leak was fixed.
Wow.
So
that's not a lot of rain, is it?
But we could not play in that facility and had to play in a monsoon outside, and we were not prepared for that.
Okay, well that's a good story. Now, I think times have obviously changed, and there's research and analytics and all those things now, but it's interesting to see kind of where we are with that type of thing now.
They say that if you can hear thunder, you're close enough to be struck by lightning.
Yeah.
And like you say, with all the analytics and everything that's involved now, they've got so much information that is used for the protection and safety of both the fans and players.
Well, I was sitting there, I do some stuff during the game now, so I had my earpiece in, and I was hearing everybody kind of talk about the different things that were going on. I heard somebody say, be prepared for a delay.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, well, what's he talking about?
Mm-hmm.
And sure enough, their officials come on the loudspeaker there. They say that we're going to delay the game because of lightning in the vicinity. Nobody that I could talk to saw it.
Yeah.
But they
caught a lot of people off guard.
So that was kind of interesting, talking to people like during the delay. Well, what do we do? And then, credit to EKU staff for getting everybody out safely. Again, there was no threat, but just in case.
Yeah.
Better to be safe than sorry in that type of scenario.
All it takes is one strike of lightning, and a lot of people can be in a bad way soon, real quick.
Now, we look at the win for EKU. Again, so they're 2-0 at home, which is one of the goals for the team was to go undefeated at Roy Kidd Stadium. Mm-hmm. Another goal for the team was to go undefeated in conference play, and then the other goal was to win the national championship. Right now, they're 1-0 in conference play, 2-0 at home, a chance to go to 3-0 today. But wanted to ask you, being around the team, being around Coach Wells, and a lot of people that are involved with the program, how important was that win last week over, again, an in-state rival, to go 2-0 at home now to start the season, and after the delay and everything else, how important do you think that victory was last week?
Well, I think any time you win, and I've heard Coach Wells emphasize it numerous times, that it doesn't make no difference who you beat. A win is a win.
Yeah.
And to be able to keep that momentum going, that's the most important thing. It doesn't matter who it is or whatever the circumstances are, to get a win and to have that momentum going that carries you into a game like today, it's a good thing. It's a really good thing,
So they go 2-0 at home, a chance to go 3-0 at home today. They welcome in Robert Morris. We'll talk about that game. We'll talk about the volleyball game last night.
Oh, man.
A packed house at the Rick Erdman Center. We're going to talk about that. But today it's the Colonels and the Colonials. Can't lose to the Colonials, can we? Robert Morris.
But really, I used to think early on, that's what the Colonel was.
Oh,
the Colonials.
Yeah.
It's
when you first look at it,
it's almost like Louisville or Louisville, whatever. And I don't want to open up no can of worms, but it's how you call it,
That's a big game today for EKU. Again, looking to stay undefeated at home, looking to go 3-0 at RKS before a long time before we come back here. Late October is when our next home EKU Tailgate Show will be, and they'll be back here at Roy Kidd Stadium. Maybe by then we'll have some fall weather, although we're clearly headed in that direction after what we've gotten the last 3 or 4 days. Step aside for our first commercial break here on the EKU Tailgate Show. When we come back, it was a huge event last night at the Rick Erdman Center. A loss for EKU volleyball, but maybe even within that loss, a win because of what the fans were there to witness. We'll talk about that when we come back here on the EKU Tailgate Show on the flagship station for Colonel Sports, 100.7 The Coyote, and on WBON-TV.
I'm Michelle.
And I'm Jennifer, and in the spring of 1992, Bishop Small Engine Repair was born in our mom and dad's barn in Estill County.
Then in the fall of 1992, we made the move to Madison County, where we are today. With the support of our family, customers, and community, we have continued to grow in the outdoor power industry. With a full line of products from Cub Cadet, Grasshopper, Echo, and Shindawa, we can help you tackle your yard so you can enjoy it with your family. Bishop Small Engine Repair, where our focus is our customer. Stop on in, 119 North Estill Avenue in Richmond. We can't wait to see ya.
Who makes the best meal in Richmond? Nuevo Vallarta. Friendly service, a place that's good for kids and good for groups. Head to Nuevo Vallarta on Big Hill Avenue in Richmond. Nuevo Vallarta is known for warm hospitality, great prices, great food, and the best fajitas in town. Start with an appetizer, order a la carte, or choose from their huge menu of Mexican favorites for grown-ups and kids. Nuevo Vallarta on Big Hill Avenue in Richmond.
Whitaker Bank in Madison County is your local bank for convenience. With more branches than literally any other bank in Madison County, why go anywhere else? Whitaker Bank is known for their friendly customer service and easy access drive-thrus. Whitaker Bank, your home for local, friendly, family banking. Equal housing lender, member FDIC.
Granite, marble, and quartz for any surface. Make a lifetime commitment you won't regret.
Cars of Kentucky is a proud sponsor of Eastern Kentucky University Athletics. In Richmond, we bleed maroon. Go Colonels. And when you're ready for your next pre-owned automobile, swing on over to Cars of Kentucky. Cars of Kentucky has vehicles starting at $3,000 and up, so we literally have something for every budget. 356 Big Hill Avenue in Richmond, or check them out, carsofkentucky.com. Let's go Colonels!
To some, it's just a boat. But to Jim, it's his escape from meetings, traffic, and the grind of daily life. He may not catch any keepers, but he wouldn't trade his day on the lake for anything in the world. That's why his boat is insured by Kentucky Farm Bureau. But it's not just Kentucky's Farm Bureau. It's Jim's Recharge the Battery Farm Bureau.
My Farm Bureau.
David Mayo, John Rader, and Chris Hornsby with Kentucky Farm Bureau.
Welcome back into the EKU Tailgate Show. Howard Miller and Michael Watkins here with you on a Saturday afternoon in Richmond as the Colonels welcome in the Colonials of Robert Morris for the third straight Saturday at home. And for the second straight Saturday, some rough weather to deal with, Howard, today as the rain at the moment holding off. We're hoping it'll do that for a few more hours and get this game in between the Colonels and the Colonials. Last night, though, it was EKU volleyball taking center stage as the Colonels welcomed in preseason ASUN favorite Lipscomb and fell 3-2 in 5 sets in the Rick Erdman Center. What an event. I saw a lot of pictures. The football team was there cheering them on. The crowd was lit, as the young folks would say. I think they still use that term, Gage. Yeah. I'm not sure. But it was just an incredible atmosphere. You were there to kind of witness it and talk about what you saw last night as the volleyball team took the number one team in the conference to the wire.
Right down to the wire, buddy. I had said before that I have come through the Coliseum when they would have volleyball games going on, being with the basketball team, maybe over there for what reason I'd come through and they'd be playing, and it never really registered, so to speak. And it was last week I was watching the Kentucky-Louisville game, volleyball game on TV. And I kept noticing, man, these young ladies are tough.
Yeah.
They are tough. And so I decided I'm going to check out an EKU volleyball game. I was planning to come on Thursday night, didn't get a chance to.
Yeah, played Austin Peay then.
Yes. And last night, I tell you, they won me over in warm-up. By the time they got ready to play, I was already a fan, buddy. And I tell you, the intensity of the way that those ladies play is phenomenal. It is absolutely phenomenal.
It really is, and that's the thing that it's hard to describe if you don't witness it.
It is.
To talk about how intense the girls are out there on the court. And it's hard for them, too. You go from Thursday night playing the worst team in the conference, Austin Peay, you sweep them, to the following night have to welcome in the number one team in the conference in Lipscomb. We'll look at the recap of the game. Emily Hill recorded her second triple-double of the season. She had 11 kills, 12 digs, and 28 assists for the Colonels, who are now 10-5, 1-1 in the ASUN. She also had 4 blocks in the game, so a big night for Hill. Sarah Mitchell, we talked about her. She played her volleyball at the high school level at Madison Southern. She had 16 kills, made only 2 errors, and had a .341 attack percentage for the Colonels last night. A.G. Vandegrift and Paige Wagers, also big nights. Vandegrift had 13 kills. Wagers had 8 blocks. And it was early on in the first set, tied 4-4. Lipscomb used a 7-2 run to seize control. They got a kill from Meg Merson to make it 11-6 in favor of the Bisons. Went on to win the opener 25-19. So, okay, you lose, you're down 1 set. EKU came right back. The Colonels were in danger of falling behind 2-0 after a kill from Courtney Jones that gave Lipscomb a 23-21 lead in that second set. But moments later, Jones gave her squad set point 24-23 with another kill, and the Colonels answered. They got 3 straight coming off a Lipscomb service error and 2 attack errors to take the second set 26-24. EKU broke a 13-13 tie with a 6-2 run in the third set. It was Matty Tolzman who had a kill that capped it and gave the team a 19-15 lead. Hill's kill ended the set 25-19 and gave the Colonels a 2-1 set lead. Bisons came back, took set 4. We went to set 5. And it was the Bisons that ended up having a big performance in set 5. Back and forth they went. You talked about it. They got off to a quick start in the 5th. EKU did. They took an 11-5 lead off a Lipscomb attack error. And EKU had its first match point, 14-13 after a kill from Tolzman. Hill's kill set up another match point at 16-15. But Jones started a run of 3 straight for the Bisons with a kill and capped it with a match-winning service ace. And being there for all of that, you had to kind of be on your toes and be excited because this is a very big moment for EKU volleyball. You got a jam-packed crowd, and they're in the Rick Erdman Center. Everybody's kind of right on top of you, so it makes it kind of more intense. Everybody there cheering you on. You got the walking area up top that I saw pictures of some of the football players kind of looking down on the game as well. So it was very, very intense, and the games was back and forth, each set going back and forth. So credit Coach Bazzani and the coach from the Bisons as well for having their teams ready because that could be a potential preview of an A-Sun championship game later on down the road.
As I said, that was my first volleyball game. And let me say this. Eastern Kentucky University volleyball perhaps is the most well-kept secret in Madison County, period. I mean, as far as just entertainment, excitement, just on the edge, play after play after play. I mean, let me say this. When you have a group of ladies, now, you got the guys that play and you got the young ladies, girls that play. When you have a team, softball, volleyball, rugby, whatever, when you get a team full of talented, enthusiastic girls playing, man, they are excited.
They are.
Those young ladies will literally run through a brick wall to make a play. I mean, I'm not saying the guys won't, but there's something about that young lady that'll look you in the eye and tell you, get out of my face.
You don't really expect it from them.
You don't
but
expect
now,
it from
the
them,
intensity
man.
level, again, it's really, really impressive. Now, I'm going to tell you now, the next home game, October 12th, we got 2 weeks before they come back home. They'll play on the road at North Alabama, Central Arkansas at Bellarmine, and then they come back home October the 12th against Florida Gulf Coast. That'll be another fun one.
Now, how many in a row will they have, Mike?
They'll have just one home game that time. Yeah, so they got one home game October 12th, and they come back for a pair of home games in late October on the 25th and the 27th. That'll be a fun weekend. You get volleyball on Friday. That's the next home game for the EKU football team. And then you get volleyball on Sunday. So we got a lot of sports that weekend here on campus with volleyball, then football, and then volleyball again. So 3 straight days of some big A-Sun rivalry games taking place that weekend here on EKU's campus.
And let me say this, and I mean it, buddy. If you're not doing nothing on those days that you find out and know about a home volleyball game, come and watch those ladies play. Talking about a wonderful way to spend an evening. Come and watch those ladies play because it is as much. Sometimes you look at a sport, especially if you don't have a lot of experience with it. For years, I didn't care nothing about golf because I really didn't understand it. Hockey, I don't really understand. But once you get to know the rules, how it goes, it makes a difference. And with volleyball, it's like I say, man, it's something that if you give it a chance and come and see one of the games, I was hooked, man, before they got through warm-ups.
So when you hear these terms, dig, kill, ace, do you know what those mean yet?
I've got the ace down.
Okay.
And I've heard the other two.
So the kill is essentially when you get a point.
Yeah, just like in tennis when you boom.
Yeah.
Get it
So
past
if you hit it over over the net and it hits the floor, it's a kill for your team.
Yeah. Now the dig is what
setting
the
it up
one
for somebody else.
Yeah.
So you go concern. You're a professional now. You can go there and call the games with Greg.
No, I ain't ready for Stahl's level. But what it is though, when you see the kid that is the one that seems like is most commonly in place to receive a hard shot, a straight shot that is prepared to go down and meet it on the floor, it only makes sense. That sounds like a dig.
A dig. Yeah, you dig it out of the ground.
It only takes a game or two where you learn the terminology. And once you can apply the terminology, it's almost like, okay, then you can prepare yourself for what's getting ready to come.
To me, when I started doing volleyball games at the high school level, I've done a few Eastern games too, the most confusing part was me is, well, why is there one player out there that has a different colored jersey on?
Yeah.
That's the libero.
Yeah.
Well, what does she do? Well, she sets everything up for you. So she's like not necessarily the captain of the team, but they are very important in that they kind of do it all. They're the type of do-it-all player. They can do the dig out for you. They're the person
utility person.
You want to kind of control the setting of a kill attempt or whatever the case might be. But yeah, it's a lot goes into volleyball, understanding the terminology. But there are some very, very good athletes that play the sport, and there are some very, very good athletes that play the sport on this campus as well. And you got to get them out. And I think earlier this morning, the beach volleyball team were supposed to have like a maroon-white scrimmage. And I don't know if they got to have that in with all the weather that came in, but that's going to be right around the corner. Can you imagine playing beach volleyball in the winter here in Kentucky?
Oh, man. It'll be different than playing it in Miami. I'll assure you of that.
That's for sure. Well, we got a lot to look forward to here tonight. It's EKU and Robert Morris. We're going to have that game coming up for you here on the Coyote. If you're listening to us on 100.7 the Coyote, kickoff between the Colonels and the Colonials at 2 p.m. Here at 1:30, we're going to hand it off to Greg Stottlemyre, Wes Chandler, and Jim Tyree for the pregame show at 1:30, and then the call of the game at 2 o'clock. And I saw on YouTube that the EKU Sports Network guys, they now have their own YouTube show. And I don't know who's in charge of the makeup for Jim, Wes, and Greg, but I know it's going to take a lot of makeup to make them look good on the YouTube channel.
I'm not going to say nothing. I'm not, because Stottlemyre, he'll figure out a way to chop my head off. I'm not saying a word.
All right. Well, that'll work. It's going to be a lot of fun tonight, though. EKU, I say tonight, it's going to be an afternoon game, 2 p.m. kickoff. EKU and Robert Morris. And Coach Wells has a lot of respect for this Robert Morris football team. It's also Hall of Fame Day. When we come back, we're going to look at the Hall of Fame class. Howard Miller, I'm going to talk a lot about that. He was over at the ceremony this morning. There are some big names: Nick Mayo, Corey Walden, Greg Stottlemyre, Coach Hope. A lot of big names and some good teams going into the Hall of Fame class this morning. We'll talk about that when we come back here on the EKU Tailgate Show. We're live here in the Colonel Courtyard. Starting to see some audience and some crowd level pick up here, which is a good sign as we near the kickoff of the game today. We'll be right back on the Coyote and the WBON-TV.
To everyone out there who loves Culver's,
the feeling is mutual.
Everything's made fresh.
Everything.
It's our pleasure.
This is me and my happy place.
I wouldn't trade our Culver's for any other restaurant.
Culver's.
Yay!
We love our guests.
love
As
much as our guests love us.
This is me and my happy place.
From Wisconsin with love.
Welcome to Delicious.
Yeah.
At the Botany Bay, you can find things you like to do stuff with. From mellow evenings to euphoric adventures, we've got what you need to keep it cosmic, dude. And we're not the only thing high. This month's savings are through the roof. We got silicone pipes 20% off, disc golf and bags 15% off, select disposables up to 50% off. On top of all that, we're clearing out our hookah inventory and so much more. Get all the cool stuff you need at our Lexington and Richmond locations. The Botany Bay. Elevate your day the fun way.
Your vehicle's safety and integrity depend on its windows, which means a small crack can lead to big problems. Whether it's a repair or a replacement, the experts at Aero Auto Glass can have your car's windows looking like new in no time. With mobile service available in Lexington, Richmond, and surrounding areas, you can have your car serviced close to home. If you have damaged auto glass, Call the professionals at Aero Auto Glass, 866-975-4527.
Excel Auto Care, your complete car care center, has been in business over 26 years. They are a great option for all the best brands of tires. They do transmission work. They'll work on your engine from top to bottom, no matter how complex the issue. And they always have their brake special, which is $279.99 for brakes and rotors on most vehicles. At Excel Auto Care, 245 North Keeneland Drive in Richmond, we offer discounts to Eastern students and our veterans.
When perfect is in the air, you can feel it. Presenting the new Ultimate Comfort System from Lennox, the most advanced heating and air conditioning system ever.
Call 859-779-0122 now and get the best Lennox home comfort systems at a price you'll love. That's affordable heating and air at 859-779-0122 or online at affordableheating-air.com.
When big flavor and great value get together, you know it's Sonny's. And with our Pick of the Pit combos, you can make your perfect plate with Pick 2 or Pick 3 meats, 2 sides, and bread. Or let us pick for you with options like the savory pork and rib combo. Less skimping on the barbecue you're craving? That's just one more reason why it's always Sonny's here. Sonny's Barbecue. Local pitmasters since '68.
We're back here on the EKU Tailgate Show. Michael Watkins, Howard Miller with you. About an hour away from the kickoff and about 30 minutes before we hand it off to Greg, Jim, and Wes for the EKU pregame show. And today it's the Hall of Fame game. It's a big deal. A lot of folks coming into the area for the Hall of Fame induction ceremony that took place this morning. You were over there this morning. It was a big deal, right?
Yes, it was a nice day. It was a wonderful day to see some of the all-time greats going in with the honor that they deserve. Mayo and, Corey.
Yeah, Corey Walden.
Danny Hope, Coach Hope, and a couple of our outstanding track players, which we've always had some outstanding track athletes, along with the 73 ladies volleyball team. It was great seeing those ladies because they helped to get that foundation started for some of the success that we're seeing today. But it was a nice group that went in today.
Yeah, looking at the class itself, you got a track cross country player, Ola Hesselberg, Danny Hope, member of the football team, as a lot of different positions: player, coach, assistant coach. Now in the operations facility there, you've got Sophie Levin, who was a women's golf player, Jacob Core, another track and cross country. Nick Mayo, Corey Walden, members of the basketball team, Greg Stottlemyre, obviously the longtime broadcaster voice of EKU athletics. And when you talk about, I've actually personally played a lot of pickup ball with Corey Walden. When I I actually graduated from EKU in 2012, came back, played a lot of ball up in the what is now the Rick Erdman Center. We played a lot of pickup basketball in there in the EKU Rec Center at the time. And man, Corey was a really good kid, kind of a quiet kid. He had a stint with the Boston Celtics, I believe, played some summer league games with them for a couple of years, couldn't really shoot the ball, and was just a playmaker, good athlete for his size. Corey Walden, a former point guard for EKU. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, Walden was a member of that team that played against Kansas and took them to the wire in the first round of the NCAA tournament about 12 years ago. He had Terrius Johnson on that team. There was a lot of really good basketball players that played on Jacob Johnson, I believe, that passed away. There was just a really good basketball team that Walden was a part of. We know what Nick Mayo was. He was the all-time leading scorer when he played at EKU. So there was a really good class going in today. Hope, we talked about him. He had stints as a player, head coach, assistant coach, and staff member at EKU. He was a starter at guard on the Colonels' first national championship team. As head coach, he was named OVC Coach of the Year after he led the Colonels to a conference title and an appearance in the football championship subdivision playoffs. He also led Purdue to a pair of bowl games as a head coach of the Boilermakers. And since 2020, Danny Hope has served in EKU's development office. Talking about Mayo again, he's EKU's all-time leading scorer with 2,316 points, was a 4-time first-team All-OVC selection, and the 2016 OVC Freshman of the Year, and is also a member of the 2015-16 All-OVC Newcomer team. He's from Oakland, Maine, and was a 4-time NABC All-District pick. He is 6th on the program in career rebounds and has the 7th best career free throw percentage. So a lot of accolades there for Nick Mayo. And Stotts, you got a lot of familiarity with Stotts. Obviously, I've worked with Greg a lot here as well. He has served as the play-by-play broadcaster for EKU since 1979, has broadcasted more than 2,200 athletic contests to Colonel fans. In 2023, he was inducted into the Kentucky Broadcasters Association Hall of Fame and was honored as the Kentucky Sportscaster of the Year by the National Sports Media Association. So a lot of accolades there for a friend of yours.
Well, I've been around the basketball and the football team in arenas around the country. I've seen a lot of different games. I've seen and heard a lot of broadcasts. And everybody that's broadcasting games are not necessarily great at what they do.
Yeah.
In all honesty, Greg Stottlemyre is great at what he does. Yeah. He has not only a passion for it, but he has that enthusiasm of being able to paint a picture. He has that K. Wood Ledford ability to, if you're sitting at home, he can put you in the arena as far as the picture that he's able to paint with the way that he goes about describing the action that he's presenting to you. And that makes a great difference when you're broadcasting, to be able to make a person be able to see what you're telling them is going on and unfolding as the competition goes on.
And here's the thing about Greg that I respect a lot about him. He is the most prepared play-by-play guy that I've ever seen. The numbers and the notes and the stats and everything else that he's got in front of him, it's really incredible to see what Greg Stottlemyre does. He'll post his pictures on his Twitter or X account or Facebook, and I'm like, man, first of all, I don't see how he even reads it. He writes so small, and you're sitting there, you're calling a play, and you look down and you see a note. It's like, man, how do you even have time to look that up and see it? But yeah, Greg Stottlemyre, one of the most prepared individuals you'll see in a broadcast booth as well.
I rode over here to the stadium with him after we left the Hall of Fame program, and he was in the back trying to change clothes. He was trying to get from his on the stage,
his on the stage attire to
his broadcast attire, and he was rushing. He's talking about, man, I'm running late. I usually try to get there 3 hours before the game, and I have seen him on numerous occasions where doing early pre-game preparation, he'll come around the coaches, he'll come around with his sheets, all of his colored, patterned out information, preparing himself. But again, proper preparation prevents poor performance.
There you go.
And he is definitely a prepared person. And anytime you're doing something like that, you have to be prepared, because you're presenting something that listeners now, they will call you out. You call out a stat or something that's not accurate.
They're not afraid to tell you
and
you're wrong.
people's going to start texting you, man.
Yeah, or they'll post it on Facebook. I was watching the EKU game, and that guy said he was third cousins of so-and-so. He don't know what he's saying. And
exactly.
Trust me, if Greg says it, it's going to be right.
That's the old saying, if I tell you 2 chickens can pull a wagon, don't ask me how. You just hook them up.
There you go.
Just hook them up.
All right. We talked about the 1973 volleyball team. They were led by Jerry Paul Vino, the Hall of Fame coach, and she compiled the best overall record for any team in program history. That went 26-4 that year, when undefeated against state competition, winning a 3rd straight Kentucky Women's Intercollegiate Conference crown. And that Colonels team were one of 7 teams from across the nation invited as an at-large representative to the National Association for Intercollegiate Athletics for Women Volleyball Championship. They were not able to compete because of budgetary constraints, though. So, again, it was a big day this morning over at the Hall of Fame ceremony, and now your former team's going to be honored today as well, right? The 1974 team?
1974 team. It's been 50 years, and we won the conference in 74. And so a lot of those guys I don't know how much the weather might play a part in some of them not being able to come out. But during the week, it seemed like we were going to have a great turnout. We had some good players during that era. We were really in 74 preseason, we were picked to be one of the top teams in the country.
Okay.
But just like my freshman year, when Wally Chambers and that group were seniors, sometimes injury here, injury there can really offset an entire season. But we had a great group of guys. And we did win the conference, and it'll be great seeing some of those fellas. Some of them I haven't seen since we left campus. But they were a great group.
It'll be a big day for you as well. Looking forward to that and looking forward to a good game between EKU and Robert Morris. Step aside for another commercial break. Lots more to get to. We'll dive into this matchup between the Colonials and the Colonels when we come back here on the EKU Tailgate Show. We're live here in the Colonel Courtyard on the Coyote and WBON-TV.
I'm Michelle.
And I'm Jennifer. And in the spring of 1992, Bishop Small Engine Repair was born in our mom and dad's barn in Estill County.
Then in the fall of 1992, we made the move to Madison County, where we are today. With the support of our family, customers, and community, we have continued to grow in the outdoor power industry. With a full line of products from Cupcadet, Grasshopper, Echo, and Shindawa, we can help you tackle your yard so you can enjoy it with your family. Bishop Small Engine Repair, where our focus is our customer. Stop on in, 119 North Estill Avenue in Richmond. We can't wait to see ya.
Who makes the best meal in Richmond? Nuevo Vallarta. Friendly service, a place that's good for kids and good for groups. Head to Nuevo Vallarta on Big Hill Avenue in Richmond. Nuevo Vallarta is known for warm hospitality, great prices, great food, and the best fajitas in town. Start with an appetizer, order a la carte, or choose from their huge menu of Mexican favorites for grown-ups and kids. Nuevo Vallarta on Big Hill Avenue in Richmond.
Whitaker Bank in Madison County is your local bank for convenience. With more branches than literally any other bank in Madison County, why go anywhere else? Whitaker Bank is known for their friendly customer service and easy access drive-thrus. Whitaker Bank, your home for local, friendly, family banking. Equal housing lender, member FDIC.
Granite, marble, and quartz for any surface. Make a lifetime commitment you won't regret.
Cars of Kentucky is a proud sponsor of Eastern Kentucky University Athletics. In Richmond, we bleed maroon. Go Colonels. And when you're ready for your next pre-owned automobile, swing on over to Cars of Kentucky. Cars of Kentucky has vehicles starting at $3,000 and up, so we literally have something for every budget. 356 Big Hill Avenue in Richmond, or check them out, carsofkentucky.com. Let's go Colonels!
To some, it's just a boat. But to Jim, it's his escape from meetings, traffic, and the grind of daily life. He may not catch any keepers, but he wouldn't trade his day on the lake for anything in the world. That's why his boat is insured by Kentucky Farm Bureau. But it's not just Kentucky's Farm Bureau. It's Jim's Recharge the Battery Farm Bureau. My Farm Bureau.
David Mayo, John Rader, and Chris Hornsby with Kentucky Farm Bureau.
Back here at the EKU Tailgate Show inside the Colonel Courtyard, and today it's the EKU Colonels taking on Robert Morris. And one thing that you and I don't get to, I'm down there on the field quite a bit, and I know you're out there, you're kind of locked into the game, but we really don't take advantage of all that's being offered up inside of Roy Kidd Stadium. Let me tell you about what's going on today. You cannot forget to enjoy the variety of concessions that are offered by the EKU Dining Services and Aramark. This weekend's featured item, and get ready, folks, this is going to make you salivate here. It is a shaved ribeye steak sandwich. The sandwich special is served with shaved Angus beef ribeye, caramelized onions topped with a slice of white cheddar on a hoagie roll, and this item is served fresh at the concessions locations throughout the stadium. And tell me that don't sound good.
Sounds great, man. Sounds
kind of
great.
warm you up here on a
It does.
little bit of it. Wind's kind of coming in now. It's kind of a chilly Saturday morning here.
Set you up for a great sandwich like that.
Don't forget today, too, they will continue to host a family zone located above the hill behind the cannon. If you're bringing kids to the game and maybe your husband's really into watching the football game, but you're like the kids are getting bored or you're hard to keep their attention span on the game itself, they do have the inflatables for kids inside the stadium while providing access to the game for families as well. And they'll have the stadium lights show. They do the muscle cam. I saw you down there flexing on them last Saturday during the muscle cam.
That must have been my double. You just hit on something that's very interesting. You talked about the husband being tuned into the game.
Yeah.
You know, now that we've gone to the 12-team playoff format for college football.
For FBS, yeah.
You know, that's if they could take a poll, you watch what I tell you, man. Pre-Christmas shopping and all of that is going to go out the roof.
Oh, yeah.
With all of those games on now, college football is going to dominate December. There's going to be guys that's going to tell their wives, here, honey, take it.
Yeah, just go ahead.
Shop all day.
And you talk about December. Well, how about today? I mean, I don't talk about this game too much. You got Georgia and Alabama playing in late September.
Hey, you know, I think that there was a lot of people that was concerned about a few years ago when the season would begin. You always had your powerhouses playing a cupcake.
Yeah.
And people were dissatisfied with that. I mean, if you waited all year for the season to start and there's Alabama playing Ain't Nancy's Sewing Class or the Bluebonnet, you know, Dresser Association.
60-point spread or whatever.
You don't want to see that. What you are looking for is the season to be opening with a barn burner.
Yeah.
And so I think that they've addressed that. And so now, just like tonight, Alabama and Georgia, man, you couldn't ask for a better early season game than what you have in Tuscaloosa tonight.
Well, I think there's just with the SEC and these big conferences now moving around, there's going to be one of those type of games every week. Last week it was Tennessee, Oklahoma. That was a big one. Michigan, USC was a big one. So you're going to have 1, 2, maybe 3 games like that every single weekend. But you get Bama, Georgia. That's a national championship type level game. That's going to be taking place tonight. So we'll see what happens whenever we go throughout the evening. But a big one here in Richmond, it's Robert Morris and EKU. We'll talk about that game some more when we come back here on the EKU Tailgate Show. We're live in the Colonel Courtyard on 100.7 The Coyote and WBON-TV.
To everyone out there who loves Culver's,
The feeling is mutual.
Everything's made fresh.
Everything.
It's our pleasure.
This is me and my happy place.
I wouldn't trade our Culver's for any other restaurant.
Culver's.
We love our guests.
Love. As much as our guests love us.
This is me and my happy place.
from Wisconsin with love.
Welcome to Delicious.
At the Botany Bay, you can find things you like to do stuff with. From mellow evenings to euphoric adventures, we've got what you need to keep it cosmic, dude. And we're not the only thing high. This month's savings are through the roof. We got silicone pipes 20% off, disc golf and bags 15% off, select disposables up to 50% off. On top of all that, we're clearing out our hookah inventory and so much more. Get all the cool stuff you need at our Lexington and Richmond locations. The Botany Bay. Elevate your day the fun way.
Your vehicle's safety and integrity depend on its windows, which means a small crack can lead to big problems. Whether it's a repair or a replacement, the experts at Aero Auto Glass can have your car's windows looking like new in no time. With mobile service available in Lexington, Richmond, and surrounding areas, you can have your car serviced close to home. If you have damaged auto glass, call the professionals at Aero Auto Glass, 866-975-4527.
Excel Auto Care, your complete car care center, has been in business over 26 years. They are a great option for all the best brands of tires. They do transmission work. They'll work on your engine from top to bottom, no matter how complex the issue. And they always have their brake special, which is $279.99 for brakes and rotors on most vehicles. at Excel Auto Care, 245 North Keeneland Drive in Richmond. We offer discounts to Eastern students and our veterans.
When perfect is in the air, you can feel it. Presenting the new Ultimate Comfort System from Lennox, the most advanced heating and air conditioning system ever.
Call 859-779-0122 now and get the best Lennox home comfort systems at a price you'll love. That's affordable heating and air at 859-779-0122 or online at affordableheating-air.com.
When big flavor and great value get together, you know it's Sonny's. And with our Pick of the Pit combos, you can make your perfect plate with pick 2 or pick 3 meats, 2 sides, and bread. Or let us pick for you with options like the savory pork and rib combo. Less skimping on the barbecue you're craving? That's just one more reason why it's always Sonny's here. Sonny's Barbecue. Local pitmasters since '68.
The Colonels hosting Robert Morris in the final non-conference game of the 2024 regular season. And Robert Morris coming in. It's a big game. Talked about it being Hall of Fame Day. It's also family weekend here on campus. Not sure how many families are hanging around still with all the rain that's taking place. But it's a big deal. Matchup between the Colonels, who are 2-2, 1-1 in the UAC, and the Colonials, who are also 2-2. They are 1-0 in their conference as well. It'll be the 4th time these two teams have met, and EKU has won all 3 previous meetings, including the most recent one, which took place in 2018. That one was a barn burner, 40-39 overtime victory for the Colonels. Today's game, again, 3rd straight game here at Roy Kidd Stadium, where the Colonels have won the last 2 contests. Defense was a big reason for it last week, especially Gabe Stevens, who recorded 5 tackles, 2 sacks, and 1 forced fumble. Offensively, the running game was going last week, 301 yards on the ground, 4 touchdowns, and 6 different players pitched in with all those yardage last week. And I haven't really talked about this guy, but you got to be really impressed with the way Matt Morrissey has played the last 2 weeks. Howard really has kind of settled into that quarterback position, throwing the ball. We've also seen him run it some over the last 2 weeks here at home as well.
Yeah, he's settling in. I mean, after you come behind a great quarterback like he's doing, everybody has, their expectations, but every individual has to, come into his or her own as far as the responsibility that falls on them, and he's going to be okay. He's going to be okay.
Looking at the game today, it's a 15.5-point line. So Vegas has set the Colonels as a 15.5-point favorite, and
that don't mean nothing.
No, especially with the weather being what it is, and the over/under, the total points scored for the game is 49.5. So there's a lot of points predicted to be scored, but with the weather being what it is, you got to wonder if that might play into maybe a lower scoring game. Now, the turf at Roy Kidd Stadium is very good, so they'll take care of that. But you've been in there before. When it's windy inside of RKS, it's very, very hard to throw the football and be productive on doing that.
And if you don't think that their coach is not rattling their brain right now about the fact that, our record against them, you don't think he's going to use that as a rally cry? That's exactly what he's doing right now. He's letting them know where they have fared up against us over the last, since we've been playing. And I guarantee you this, they'll come out ready to play. We've got to be ready.
Looking at Robert Morris, they picked up their 2nd win of the season and their first NEC play victory last week. They beat Wagner 21-14 that game on the road. Their quarterback is tied for 1st in their conference in total offense. He's averaging 205.2 yards per game. He's also tied for 2nd in the conference with 8 total touchdowns. In their win over Mercyhurst back on September 14th, he threw for more than 300 yards, becoming the first NEC quarterback to do so this season. His 5 touchdown passes in that game were the most by an NEC player since 2022. Defensively, they have allowed an average of 25.3 points and 37.2.5 yards per game. And the Colonials have won their last 2 games after opening up the season with losses to Utah State, an FBS team, and Edinboro, D2 team. So EKU, again, a heavy favorite today at home. And with the way that Morrissey and the offense has really clicked and been rolling, I think I could see them winning this game by 2 or 3 touchdowns, but you still got to go out there and play the football game.
Oh, yeah. It's, anytime you play in a team from an area like where they come from, Pennsylvania.
Yep, Pennsylvania.
That's a strong football region.
Yep.
Just like when we played Western Georgia a couple of weeks ago. You don't take nobody lightly in those areas because everybody that's a great football player in the state of Pennsylvania is not necessarily at Pittsburgh or Penn State.
Yep.
There's a lot of great football players up in those areas, and those guys, they're used to playing good competitive football, and they're not going to come down here being intimidated about nothing.
Well, the game today is 2 p.m. kickoff. We're about 30 minutes or so away, and we've got to hand it off to Greg, Jim, and West here in just a few moments for the network pregame show. Before we go, they've got about 3 or 4 minutes left here. Talk about the guys and some of the guys you're really looking forward to seeing today out there as part of your Hall of Fame game here with the 1974 team coming back in, and you're going to be a part of that celebration and that honor on the field.
Well, to be honest with you, Mike, in some situations, most of the time, it's a wonderful thing, which it is. But often you find out about a guy that you played with that's no longer with us.
Yep.
That's one of the sad things about communicating with guys that you don't really stay in contact with as regular as you should. Because every time some of us talk, another one of our teammates is, gone on, and it's just something that you hate to hear. But for the most part, I look forward to seeing those guys because as Coach Hope was talking about earlier, when we played, it's not like it is today. When we played, we all lived together in O'Donnell Hall.
Yeah.
We lived together. We ate together. We slept together as far as in the dorm.
Yeah.
We used the same facilities. Everything was oriented toward us being like teams used to be, where you develop that chemistry, that love, that brotherhood. And once that is established in a team concept, you never lose it. It's with you for the rest of your life. And some of these guys, even though I haven't seen them some of them for several years, once we get together, it's just like it never ended.
Yeah.
It's just, you pick up where you left off.
I was going to say, and it's kind of like riding the bike. You don't do it for so long, but you hop back on, and then you remember maybe an old story or an inside joke that you had or something that
A couple of them had talked about stopping by here, but I'm glad they didn't because
they would have told a bad story about you, wouldn't they?
And it wouldn't have been true.
Well, on that point, I don't know if you saw the video of Coach Wells dancing after the win last week.
Coach Wells?
Coach Wells.
Oh,
did you
I
see
was
it?
in there.
Oh, you
I saw it.
First of all, Coach, when we talked to him during the press conference, he talked about how mad he was that they let that video get out. He said if he had known it was going to be that popular, he wouldn't have let them post it on social media. He said, I went to a rough high school. He said, I got a lot of text messages and phone calls from former teammates and friends making fun of him for his dance moves. But I was impressed, Coach, out there busting a move in the locker room. Yeah. And it's after a win, it's very cool to go into an EKU locker room. You get the cabin on the hill. And you get to celebrate like that. It's very, very cool to go into a locker room after a game like that.
That's one of the strongest, most continuous traditions in college football, cabin on the hill. Most people are not aware of that, and we've been doing that since the 60s.
Okay.
That particular song after every victory, I don't know how many of them I've been a part of now, but cabin on the hill, buddy, it's as much a part of EKU tradition as anything else. Cabin on the hill.
He's Howard Miller. I'm Michael Watkins. It's EKU and Robert Morris. Kickoff about 30 minutes away. We're going to hand it off to Greg Stottlemyre and the EKU Network Sports crew for the pregame show. Thanks for joining us here, folks, on 100.7 The Coyote and WBON-TV.
Go Colonels.